All right, good morning, everybody. This is going to be our last topic for the chapter. We are now in chapter 7, beginning algebra. Beginning algebra. Chapter 7 is rational expressions. Chapter 7.6 is rational equations. This is our D video, our fourth video. We've gone through introduction. We've gone through solving rational equations. Essentially, what we do for solving rational equations is if we've got a rational equation, rational means fractional. If we've got a fractional equation, an equation means equal sign. Essentially, we find our lowest common denominator, multiply all the terms in our equation by that lowest common denominator, and then solve the remaining equation. So in this video, we're going to talk about solving formulas involving rational equations. So we're going to fast forward through all the stuff that we've gone through. And we're going to go back down here, and this is our topic for today, rational equations. Rational equations are going to be really important for things like physics, chemistry, biology, where you've got an equation you're going to solve maybe for something different than what we're given. Here our formula is F equals ma over k. Force equals mass times acceleration divided by k constant. So essentially what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about solving this for something else, because sometimes we'll have a situation where we've got where we need to find k, for example. We know force, we know mass, we know acceleration, and we don't know k, so we're going to solve for k. So again, when we solve for k, we're going to say we want to have k all by itself, alone on the one side of an equation, and everything else on the other side. So in order to do that, we need to kind of make things a little simpler to work with. Right now, this is not so simple to work with. But if we look at what we've got a rational. Rational means fractional or a fraction, and an equation sign. If that's true, then we need to find, number one, our lowest common denominator, multiply by our lowest common denominator, and then work with that simpler equation. So our lowest common denominator here is, well, if we've got f over 1, and we've got ma over k, our lowest common denominator, the only factor in our denominator is k. So if we multiply through by our lowest common denominator of k, then we should get an equation that's easier to work with. So over here in green, I'm going to have multiplying by k. Over here in blue, I'm going to say I'm going to multiply by k. So we multiply every single term. Here's a term, here's a term. What's in parentheses are the terms, and I'm multiplying each term by my lowest common denominator to kind of make a simpler equation to work with. So k times f is kf equals ma over k times k, or times k over 1. The k and the k cancels out, and what do I have on the right side? ma. And I've got kf equals ma, and I need to now solve for k. So solve for k means put k just by itself over here. If I want to have k by itself over here, and I've got k times f, I've got to move the f over to the other side by dividing by f. Divide each side by f. F divided by f cancels out, and I have on the left side k equals ma over f. We don't know what m is. We don't know what a is. Well, we pretty much know what a is. A is the acceleration, typically the acceleration due to gravity. F is the force. So now if we wanted to solve this, if we wanted to solve for k, we've done that. We've solved for k. K equals ma over f. And if we know the m and the a and the f, then we can say that, hey, now I know my k. All right. Second equation or second situation is, well, I'm going to solve for b. I want to solve this for small b. And keep in mind that big B is different from small b. I don't know what this would be. H equals 2a over b plus b. I really don't even know what this might be. But, sorry, no pun intended. But if we're going to solve for b, we know that I've got a fractional or rational equation. So if I've got a fractional or rational equation, I do the same steps as I've done before. Find the lowest common denominator, multiply by the lowest common denominator, and then solve or work with the easier to work with equation. So I'm going to find my lowest common denominator. Lowest common denominator includes every single factor from every single denominator raised to the highest power. So what is my lowest common denominator? It would include every factor from every denominator raised to the highest power. Factor of 1 is over here. We don't really need to list that there, but the factor here would be b, capital B plus small b. So there's our lowest common denominator. It is not small b times b. It is big B plus little b. So there's our lowest common denominator because all this is one factor. So there's our lowest common denominator, and if we multiply through by our lowest common denominator, then we can more easily work with what we've got. I'm going to multiply my left term, or the term on the left, by b plus b, big B plus little b. I'm going to multiply my term on the right, this is a term in green parentheses, by big B plus little b. And I'm going to say what happens now. On the left side, I've got big B plus little b times h. So I'm just going to write that big B plus little b times h equals 2a over big B plus little b times big B plus little b. And we could say that would be all over 1. So what does that become? The big B plus little b cancels out with the big B plus little b because each one of them are factors. They cancel out to 1. And what's left on the right side? What remains on the right side? Sorry, 2a. So now I've got big B plus little b times h equals 2a, but I'm going to solve for b. So now I've got that kind of blue-green equation. I have to solve for little b. So I've got to have little b on the left side, everything else on the right side. This is now kind of protected by parentheses, so now we're kind of away from rational, kind of working with rational equations and rational expressions, and now we're in the blue-green section here, we're kind of to the steps we've done before. I've got to multiply my h times everything that's inside that parentheses, and I've got to say, on the left side I've got b, big B times h, plus little b times h equals 2a. And now all I want to do is make sure that I have the little b on the left side, and I've got to move everything else away. So the big BH has to move to the other side by subtracting big BH. Subtract big BH on the right side as well, and I get big BH minus big BH goes away. I've got just small bh on the left side equals 2a minus big BH. And now if I want just I want little b on the left side, but I've got little b times h on the left side. I've got to get rid of the h by dividing by h. Divide by h. So then my, on the left side, becomes b equals 2a minus big BH divided by h. And there's our answer. We wanted to solve for b. Solve for b means put b just by itself alone on the left side or on one side, and then on the other side is everything else. So here's our solution. Little b equals 2a minus big BH divided by h. And there's our answer. We've solved for b. Just by, number one, applying the fact that we can multiply by our lowest common denominator to make a simpler blue-green equation, and then from the blue-green equation in the black, we just simply follow steps for algebra to solve for b.